Welcome to the Explainer. Sometimes the absolute best lessons in biology and botany, they don't come from these massive multi-year university studies. They just pop up from everyday observations. Today, we're unpacking this fascinating little micro-mystery pulled straight from a gardener's personal journal. We're going to explore the temptations of the modern marketplace, the unique biology of a really beautiful flower, and the hidden realities of the plants we try to bring home. It's just a brilliant case study in how one simple observation can be a total game changer for anyone with even a slight green thumb. Okay, let's dive right in. Our primary source today is this awesome, intimate entry from the personal archives of a gardener named Ang. Check out that title, Notes on Gardening, Part 941. Part 941. This is clearly someone who's been at this a while, and it starts with this classic, almost nostalgic little greeting, Dear Interweb. Published on June 30th, 2026, this entry picks up right where they left off, bringing us directly into Ang's real-time thought process. It totally grounds our exploration in the everyday reality of someone who genuinely studies plants.
Now, the setting for this botanical mystery, it's not some remote mountain peak or a dense jungle. It starts exactly where so many of our own daily adventures start, on a super mundane trip to the local grocery store. We've all been there, right? You're walking down the aisles, laser focused on your shopping list, and then, bam, an interruption. Aang has this sudden, captivating encounter with a really intriguing flower sitting right there in the market. It's the ultimate impulse by temptation. You know the drill. Sneaking a beautiful little plant into the cart, right between the broccoli and the bread, desperately hoping it survives more than a week before joining the great houseplant graveyard. Well, this specific flash of color is what kicks off our whole investigation. But Aang doesn't just walk past. Aang stops, observes, and identifies this plant as a campanula, which most of us know as a bellflower. According to the journal notes, this thing is rather fascinating, mainly because of its defining characteristic, that totally gorgeous bell shape. It really draws the eye. But, as we're about to see in the gardening world, aesthetic beauty is literally just the first piece of the puzzle. A cool shape might make you want to buy it, but it definitely doesn't guarantee you can actually keep the thing alive.
And this is where Aang goes full botanical detective. Instead of just tossing it into the shopping cart and heading for the checkout, Aang pivots. The gardener identifies the plant, hits the web to check its specific climate needs, and then deduces its origins based on that biology. It's like applying the scientific method right there in the middle of the produce section. By stringing these clues together, Aang pieces together the true story behind this tempting little flower. So, what does the research reveal? A massive biological mismatch. It turns out the bellflower absolutely needs temperate and cooler climates to survive and thrive. And well, that completely contradicts Aang's local environment. Because the grocery store is definitely not located in a temperate, cool climate, and deduces that this is either an imported ornamental plant or it was cultivated way up in the cooler highlands before being shipped all the way down to the local market. It's a total geographical plot twist. The plant's fundamental biology is just completely at odds with the environment where it's currently being sold. Which brings us to the sometimes harsh, unromantic reality of gardening, the verdict. Aang concludes, plain and simple, if you want to grow and cultivate this plant, it is probably not the right species for us to explore. It's a stark contrast to that initial temptation, isn't it? The beautiful bell shape drew Aang in, but the biological facts force a really firm no. Honestly, it takes real discipline to walk away from a gorgeous plant because you respect its climate needs over your own aesthetic desires. Actually, scratch that. It's just being realistic. Aang makes the tough, authoritative call that trying to force this plant to survive in the wrong environment is literally just a losing battle. So what does this all mean for us? It brings up a really crucial question. Are there incompatible imported ornamental plants hiding in your local market? Think about your own trips to the garden center, the hardware store, or even your local grocery store. How many times have you been lured in by some spectacular, exotic bloom, totally oblivious to the fact that it was grown in a temperature-controlled greenhouse thousands of miles away and is pretty much doomed to fail in your backyard's climate? Aang's single bellflower isn't just an isolated incident, it represents a huge, widespread phenomenon in how we buy and sell plants today. How do we actually adapt our behavior based on this? Well, Aang lays out what we can essentially call the gardener's golden rules, drawn straight from this grocery store realization. First, it absolutely pays to acknowledge that there are a ton of imported ornamental plants in the market. We just can't assume that because it's sold locally, it belongs locally. Second, we need to identify plants properly so we know exactly what we're looking at. And third, and this is the big one, always research them before getting them. Looking up those climate needs before you buy is the ultimate takeaway for anyone who's ever been tempted by a beautiful store-bought plant.
We're going to wrap up this explainer exactly how Ang concluded that journal entry. Till the next post, yours truly, Ang. It's such a great sign-off from a gardener who just saved themselves a whole lot of frustration and probably some cash simply by doing a little bit of reading. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder. The next time you're out shopping, what beautiful but totally incompatible plants might you be stubbornly trying to cultivate right now? Take a page out of Ang's journal, do your research, respect the climate, and happy gardening.